I never thought I'd be the type of person to plan revenge over a couch. But watching my daughter Emily's face crumple as she sat cross-legged on my sister-in-law's hardwood floor, I felt something snap inside me. "Mama, my legs hurt," Emily whispered, shifting uncomfortably. We'd been at Jessica's house for nearly 2 hours, celebrating my mother-in-law's birthday. The entire family lounged on Jessica's precious white sectional, all except my 7-year-old daughter, who'd been banished to the floor the moment we arrived. "Just a little longer, sweetheart," I murmured, fighting to keep my voice steady. Emily nodded bravely, but I could see tears forming in her hazel eyes. My daughter, with her wild curls and creative spirit, was the light of my life. She loved art, spent hours painting and crafting, and yes, sometimes got a bit messy in the process. But she was a child, for heaven's sake, not some untrained animal. "Oh, look at that, she's actually sitting still for once," Jessica commented loudly, adjusting her perfectly styled blonde hair. "Usually, she's bouncing around like a feral cat." My mother-in-law Margaret tittered nervously while my husband Tom shifted uncomfortably beside me. I gripped my glass of wine tighter, remembering the hours I'd spent helping Emily pick out her special party outfit, a lavender dress with matching ribbons in her hair. She'd been so excited to show everyone, twirling in front of the mirror at home. Now, those ribbons were coming loose as she sat hunched on the floor, trying to make herself as small as possible. "Jessica," I started, attempting to keep my tone civil. "Emily's been very well behaved. Maybe she cold." "Kate, we've been over this." Jessica cut me off with an exaggerated sigh. "This is a $12,000 custom-made couch. Children like her belong on the ground. I won't have her ruining my furniture with whatever substances she's covered in." She wrinkled her nose as if my daughter were contaminated. Tom cleared his throat. "Jess, come on, she's my daughter." "Exactly, she's your daughter. Which means you should understand the value of maintaining nice things. Some of us work hard for our possessions." Jessica's smile was razor sharp. She'd never forgiven Tom for marrying me, a kindergarten teacher, instead of the corporate lawyer she tried to set him up with. I felt my cheeks burning. "Emily washed up before we came. She's perfectly clean." "That's what you said last time, and then I found paint under my throw pillows." Jessica's voice dripped with disdain. "I had to have the entire couch professionally cleaned. Do you have any idea how much that cost?" I offered to pay for it. I reminded her, though we both knew my teacher's salary couldn't cover her excessive cleaning bills. And Emily apologized for that accident. "An apology doesn't fix Italian imported fabric, does it?" Jessica turned to Margaret. "Mom, remember when I was little? I never would have dreamed of touching the furniture with dirty hands, but I suppose some children just aren't taught proper manners." That was it. I started to stand, ready to gather Emily and leave, but Tom's hand on my arm stopped me. "Kate," he whispered, "please, it's Mom's birthday. Let's not make a scene." I sank back into my seat, seething. Emily caught my eye and gave me a tiny smile, trying to make me feel better, even in her discomfort. My sweet, empathetic girl. How dare Jessica treat her like this? The afternoon dragged on. Jessica served an elaborate lunch on her pristine white dining chairs, which Emily also wasn't allowed to sit on, followed by cake on the patio because chocolate crumbs are impossible to get out of the carpet. When we finally left, Emily was quiet in the car. "Too quiet. You okay, bug?" I asked, turning to look at her in the backseat. "Why doesn't Aunt Jessica like me, Ma?" Her small voice broke my heart. Tom spoke up quickly. "Of course she likes you, princess. She's just particular about her things. She lets Cousin Mason sit on the couch," Emily pointed out, "and he's younger than me." I caught Tom's eye. Mason was Jessica's 6-year-old son, who, despite regularly tracking mud through the house and wiping his sticky hands on furniture, was apparently exempt from the no children rule. Some people, I chose my words carefully, care more about things than feelings, sweetheart. That's their problem, not yours. "Your mom's right," Tom said firmly. "And next time, we'll host at our house." I nodded, an idea starting to form. Our home might not have custom Italian furniture or imported rugs, but it was warm and welcoming, filled with Emily's artwork, family photos, and yes, furniture that had seen its share of spills and crafting accidents. Each mark told a story of life being lived, of memories being made. "Next time," I said, watching Jessica's perfect house disappear in the rearview mirror, things will be different. Little did I know just how different they would be, because 3 weeks later, when Jessica announced she'd be stopping by our house for coffee, I had plans of my own. Plans that involved my daughter's extensive craft supplies, some creative seating arrangements, and a very special lunch menu. Sometimes, after all, the best revenge isn't served cold. It's served with extra marinara sauce. "Are you sure about this, Kate?" Tom asked, watching me arrange our mismatched throw pillows on the couch. "Jessica can be intense when she's upset." I smiled sweetly, adjusting the hand-painted pillow Emily had made at summer camp. "I'm just hosting my sister-in-law for lunch, honey. What could possibly go wrong?" Tom raised an eyebrow. He knew me too well. After 12 years of marriage, he could probably sense the mischief lurking beneath my innocent expression. "Just try not to start World War II, okay?" "Would I do that?" I asked, carefully placing Emily's newest art project, a gloriously messy finger painting, in the center of our coffee table. The still wet paint glistened invitingly. "Yes," Tom replied without hesitation. "Yes, you absolutely would." He kissed my cheek before heading to work. "Text me if there are any casualties." Once he left, I went into full preparation mode. Emily was at school, blissfully unaware of what was about to unfold. I considered keeping her home to witness Jessica's coma pants, but decided some things were better left to adults. First, I moved our sturdy, stain-resistant furniture out of the living room, replacing it with the white wicker set we usually kept on the patio. The cushions were clean but definitely showed signs of life. A juice stain here, a marker streak there, each mark a badge of honor from Emily's childhood. Next, I prepared lunch. Jessica had texted specific dietary requirements. No gluten, no dairy, nothing processed. She was on some new celebrity cleans that probably cost more than my monthly salary. I smiled as I boiled the pasta, regular, gluten-filled spaghetti, and stirred the marinara sauce until it reached the perfect consistency, thick enough to stick, thin enough to splash. At exactly 11:45, the doorbell rang. Jessica stood on my porch in a cream-colored Channel suit that probably cost more than my car. Her designer handbag, white leather, because of course it was, hung pristinely from her arm. "Kate," she said, air-kissing my cheeks, "your garden looks quaint. Have you considered hiring a professional landscaper? I could recommend someone who only charges $500 per visit." "How thoughtful," I replied, leading her inside. "Please have a seat." Jessica paused in the living room, eyeing the white wicker furniture with visible distaste. "Isn't this your outdoor set?" "Oh yes," I said brightly. "Emily and I love bringing the outside in. So much more relaxed, don't you think? Please sit wherever you'd like." She gingerly perched on the edge of a chair, clutching her precious handbag closer. "Is that wet paint?" She nodded toward Emily's masterpiece on the coffee table. Emily's latest creation. She's so talented. "Would you like to touch it? The texture is fascinating." "I'll pass," Jessica muttered, shifting away from the painting. "Where is the little artist today?" "School. But she's left her mark everywhere, as you can see." I gestured proudly to the crayon drawings taped to our walls, the glitter-encrusted paint cones displayed on shelves, the clay sculptures lined up on the windowsill. "Children need freedom to express themselves, don't you think?" Jessica's eye twitched. "I prefer to channel Mason's energy into more structured activities. His etiquette coach says." "Lunch is ready," I announced, cutting off what was surely going to be a fascinating story about her 6-year-old's cotillion lessons. "I hope you're hungry." "I texted you my dietary restrictions," she reminded me, following me to the dining room. "I can't eat." "Don't worry, I remembered everything." I smiled, pulling out a chair. "Please sit." Jessica sat, then immediately jumped up with a yelp. "This cushion is damp." "Oh dear," I said, feigning concern. "Emily must have spilled her juice this morning. Here, try this one instead." I offered another chair, this one sporting a barely noticeable smear of peanut butter. "I'll stand," Jessica declared, gripping her handbag like a shield. "Don't be silly, you can't eat standing up. Here, put your bag on the table." "On the table? But—" "I insist. We're family after all. And family belongs together, don't you think? Not on the floor, not standing in corners, but together. At the table." Something in my tone made Jessica pause. She studied my face, perhaps finally sensing that this wasn't just a casual lunch. Slowly, reluctantly, she placed her pristine white handbag on my tablecloth. "Now then," I said cheerfully, heading to the kitchen. "Who's ready for spaghetti?" The color drained from Jessica's face as I returned with 2 heaping plates of pasta, the marinara sauce simmering ominously. "But my diet." "Oh, that's right," I exclaimed, setting the plates down with a flourish. A single drop of sauce splashed onto the white leather of her handbag. "I completely forgot. How careless of me." Jessica stared at the red stain spreading across her precious bag, her mouth opening and closing like a fish out of water. You did this on purpose." "Did what?" I asked innocently, twirling pasta onto my fork. "I'm just serving lunch. That's what family does, right? Unless you think some things are too precious, too expensive, too important to risk getting dirty." Our eyes met across the table, understanding dawning in hers. "This is about Emily," she said slowly, "about the couch." "No," I corrected her, dropping the innocent act. "This is about teaching my daughter that she's worth more than any piece of furniture, that she deserves to be treated with dignity, not banished to the floor like an animal." "It's a $12,000 couch," Jessica protested. "And Emily is a priceless 7-year-old girl who will remember every time you made her feel worthless." I leaned forward. "So here's what's going to happen, Jessica. Either you can sit down and enjoy this lovely lunch with your family, risking a few stains in the process, or you can stand apart, protecting your precious things. But whatever you choose today is exactly how you'll be treated in our home from now on. The choice is yours." Jessica stood frozen, her gaze darting between her stained handbag and my determined face. For once in her perfectly curated life, she seemed at a loss for words. The silence stretched between us, broken only by the soft drip of marinara sauce from my suspended fork. Finally, she did something I'd never seen before. She laughed. Not her usual practiced, polite titter, but a genuine, surprised burst of laughter. "You know," she said, slowly sinking into the chair, "Tom always said you were fierce when it came to Emily. I just never thought you'd—" She gestured at the elaborate setup around us. "Orchestrate an entire lunch to prove a point," I supplied, feeling the tension start to ease. "Well, I am a kindergarten teacher. We're pretty good at creating teachable moments." Jessica reached for a napkin, carefully dabbing at her handbag. "I suppose I deserve this. Though I have to ask, did you really have to target the Birkin? Would you have preferred I went after the Channel suit?" She clutched her jacket protectively. "God, no. Point taken." She picked up her fork, twirling it in the pasta. "I don't suppose this is actually gluten-free?" "Not even slightly." To my surprise, she took a bite. "It's good," she admitted. "Better than that kale smoothie I had for breakfast." She was quiet for a moment, chewing thoughtfully. "I've been awful to Emily, haven't I?" "Yes," I said simply. "You have. It's just everything in my life has to be perfect. My house, my clothes, my son." Jessica set down her fork. "When Emily comes over with her creative chaos, it feels like she's threatening my control." "She's 7, Jess. She's not threatening anything. She's just being a child." "I know." Jessica's shoulders slumped. "The truth is, sometimes I watch her with you. How free she is, how creative, and I'm jealous. Mason won't even finger paint anymore. He's terrified of making a mess." I felt my anger softening despite myself. "It's not too late to change that, you know." "Maybe," Jessica mused, then straightened suddenly. "Oh God, is this sauce going to set? My dry cleaner is going to have a heart attack." "Welcome to life with children," I laughed. "Here's what we're going to do. You're going to come over next weekend with Mason. We'll set up art supplies in the backyard. The kids can get messy, and nothing valuable will be harmed in the process." "I don't know." "And," I added firmly, "the next time we're at your house, Emily sits on the furniture like everyone else. Or we don't come at all." Jessica was quiet for a long moment. "Okay," she finally said. "But I'm keeping the fancy couch in storage when the kids are over. Baby steps." "I can work with that." Later that afternoon, when Emily bounced through the door after school, she stopped short at the sight of her aunt sitting comfortably on our paint-stained couch, helping to clean up the remains of our lunch. "Aunt Jessica," Emily clutched her backpack uncertainly. "What are you doing here?" "Getting marinara sauce on my very expensive clothes," Jessica replied dryly. and wondering if my favorite niece would like to show me how to make one of those beautiful paintings like the one on the coffee table. Emily's face lit up. Really? You want to paint with me? I do. Jessica patted the couch beside her. Come sit with me, and we can plan our artistic masterpiece. The look of pure joy on Emily's face as she climbed onto the couch next to her aunt made all my scheming worthwhile. When Tom came home an hour later, he found all three of us on the floor, by choice this time, surrounded by paint supplies, creating what Jessica dubbed abstract expressions of familial reconciliation. Do I want to know? He asked, taking in the scene. Probably not, Jessica and I answered in unison, then caught each other's eye and laughed. 6 months later, Jessica's pristine white couch had been reupholstered in a practical dark blue. There's a dedicated art corner in her house where Mason and Emily spend hours creating magnificent messes. And while she still occasionally winces when sticky fingers reach for her furniture, she's learning to value the memories more than the maintenance bills. As for me, I kept the sauce-stained tablecloth from that lunch as a reminder. Sometimes the messiest moments in life turn out to be the most important ones. And sometimes, all it takes to change a relationship is the courage to stand up for what matters, even if that means risking a few stains along the way. Mama, Emily said recently as we drove home from another family dinner at Jessica's house, Aunt Jessica isn't mean anymore. No, she's not, I agreed. She just needed to learn what was really important. Like family. Exactly like family. I caught her eye in the rearview mirror, and finger paints. Emily giggled. And spaghetti. I smiled, remembering that pivotal lunch, especially spaghetti.